One of the most important things I tell young drummers is don't teach, go play. We live in a strange time. We get a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of things that are contradictory, and a lot of things that are basically useless in the professional world. So what I thought I would do is I would tell you how I became an author. Okay, maybe that helps somebody who's thinking about writing a book, or maybe it helps someone decide whether they want to actually go get a gig or become a teacher on YouTube or wherever. So let's just start from the beginning. As soon as I graduated from PIT, I was hired to teach private lessons there by Steve Houghton and Joe Porcaro. I was a good jazz player by then. What I mean by good is that I loved jazz and I could play. You know, I did a lot of big band stuff and I played a lot of jazz for a kid my age. So I did really well in school, and they were very nice to me, Steve and Joe, and they really believed in me. So they put me to work doing private counseling at the school. So that's how it started. I had a lot of students suddenly, and I was doing open counseling eventually, and then eventually I started doing classes, right? It was kind of a slow process. It took, maybe a year until I started doing classes, until the guys trusted me enough to teach at the school. You gotta realize at a school like that, there's a lot of money involved. So if the students are not satisfied, they can quit school. They can complain and say, I didn't like this or that, and the school has to return their money. So you have to build trust with the top dogs. Back then it was Joe Porcaro and Ralph. And so they really believed in me, and eventually they started putting me in a lot of different classes, sight reading and ensemble technique and all the ensembles, LPW, what it was called, live playing workshops. And of course I had private students, and then I was doing the summer session, summer classes, and before you know it, I was doing every class in the school, right? From big band to reading to Latin, I mean, every class basically. So what happened? One day, a student comes up to me after he played in the big band class, and he says, Phil, you do a lot of big band. Maybe you can help me with this. I have trouble with this figure. I'm always having trouble, right? And so we got in a room, and he showed me the figure, and I understood what was wrong when he was doing it. So I gave him some pointers, but then he played the song again the next week in the big band, and he had trouble again with that particular figure. So what I did is I grabbed my drum machine. At the time I had oh my God, what was it called? One of those emulator drum machines. And I programmed a little bass line for him, and then I wrote the hits out, right? The hits that he would have to do in the big band with another keyboard and etc. So he had this little 8 bars of figures that he had to practice. And then the next day, the next time he played in the big band, he totally nailed it, right? So I started thinking, what's going on here? what's going on? What was going on is that the ensemble figures, reading them and playing them is a totally different story. You can be in a sight reading class and read, notes out of a book just on a snare drum, Ted Reed, syncopation, whatever you want. But it doesn't mean you're going to be able to interpret it on the kid. Interpretation is a whole other story. So the other kids, of course, saw him play in the big band and they were like, wow, man, you did great. How did you get over that hump? And he said, well, Phil made this little sequence for me. And then the next thing you know, 2 more kids asked me for sequences. Hey man, can you make a sequence for me? I'm having trouble with this and that. So I did it for them too. And then the next thing you know, like 20 guys were asking for sequences that I should make for them. Of course I made them. And I noticed that the common problem in the whole thing in big band and ensemble technique and 3-horn band and all these live playing situations where you had to read charts, the problem was interpretation and reading. Okay? It's 2 separate things. 2 separate things. You have to know how to interpret a chart. It's not just about reading 1 and, stuff like that. If there's hits on the 1 and the and of 1, you have to know how to orchestrate that. It's not the same as, playing 1 and on the snare drum. So all those kids were so happy with their sequences that eventually what I did was I made mini songs out of them. And suddenly, all the kids wanted these songs to play along with. And that was over the course of the entire year, one whole year at PIT. So the next year, I gave it to the next batch of students, which was like 300 drummers, and they liked it so much that eventually I turned it into full-on songs. And I started perfecting the songs, and we started tightening the concept, and that whole thing turned into the book, Working the Inner Clock. It was the first book published by Musicians Institute under the Hal Leonard umbrella. And of course, the other teachers saw me do that, and they suddenly all had books that wanted to publish on Hal Leonard, right? And there was a whole branch created with Hal Leonard and the Musicians Institute, line of books. And that's how that started. Now, why did I become an author? It was just, nothing I planned. I wanted to play, man. I was out there playing. I was teaching at MI, but I was out there playing too, right? It was not something I planned. The next thing you know, I'm doing big band classes again, and I'm doing all kinds of different classes. And my book, Working the Inner Clock, gets published in Europe also. And people in Europe start loving the book. So what happened? I went to Europe to start, promoting the book, Inner Clock, and it snowballed from there. The next thing you know, I wrote another book. The next book I wrote was called Latin Soloing for the Drum Set. Now, I'm talking about a big span of time here, okay? Latin Soloing for the Drum Set took forever to write because there was a lot of research involved. A lot of things had to happen. I had to talk to ethnomusicologists. I had to know what I was saying. I can't just, you can't just like BS your way around Latin music. There's too many people that, what I call the Clave Police, that want to discredit you and call the Clave Police and no, this guy's wrong. That's just the way it works in the Afro-Cuban world. So I had to really know what I was doing. Now that book was edited by Hal Leonard. At first, it was like an encyclopedia, right? There were so many things in there, styles, and it was across a giant scope of drumming. And it also was a video. We spent a lot of money on the video. You can imagine back then, video was not easy to produce. You seeing some of the clips here from that video, you see the quality we had back then. It was basically like these gigantic cameras and the whole thing, not like now. So I had fantastic players on that. We had to pay all the players. We had to, it was very expensive. And eventually I came out with the book. Hal Leonard, they edited it to like this, okay? They told me a book that size is going to be really hard to sell, to ship to Europe, to ship everywhere, super expensive. So it took months to condense it, and that's what happened. Eventually, to my very big disappointment, they didn't want to put out the video, right? They just made the whole audio part of the video into a CD that goes along with that book. Now, I am grateful they didn't do that because I have the video on my lesson site and I have the whole thing on my lesson site. So I own the video and students of mine can go on the lesson site and check it out, and it's a massive, massive study. Just as a side note, one of the most important aspects of learning any style of music is to be able to see it done live, to have a first-hand experience at the actual playing. So one very good piece of advice
that I can give you is to go see live music whenever you can. Go sit right in front of the drummer and check out exactly what it is he's doing with the style. Feel free to be creative with the method also. I'm sure you can think of many other rudiments and phrases that you can incorporate into your playing. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you very soon.
Okay, so the next thing was writing another book, right? Maybe I didn't plan on it. I didn't really plan on it. I just thought, okay, this is gonna, boost my whatever playing career. It didn't boost my playing career. My playing boosted my playing career. Eventually, I got some really great gigs with some big name jazz artists. And that is what kind of really pushed me to the next level. From there, I had some leisure time and decided to write the next part of the Inner Clock book. And then I was teaching in India, and I wrote Paradiddles and the Magic Sticking, and that has to do with Indian percussion applied to Western drumming. And that's how everything happened. I didn't sit there and say, I'm going to write a book about this and that because I'll make $1 million. That's not how it works. Also, at every step of the way, I wanted to make sure I was not doing anything wrong with the material. In my youth, I encountered so many books that were just wrong, absolutely wrong. And I had teachers that would show me the wrong things, especially in Latin music. In Latin music, there's so much misinformation, I mean, it's kind of like what it is now on YouTube, right? But you wouldn't believe the books that I've seen out there on Latin music. And when I got to playing actual gigs, I suffered because of it, because of the things that I learned wrong, and I never wanted anybody to go through that. Okay, so all of my books, all my material, I made sure I talked to people. I confirmed with ethnomusicologists, for Latin soloing for the drum set. Eventually I did Afro-Cuban drumming, published by Houghton Music. At that point, I'd been playing a lot of Afro-Cuban gigs. This is a very big production that we did. Even back in those days, it was not easy, all right? We're talking about many years after working the Inner Clock, actually. And it was not easy. It was a big crew and like 2 weeks in a big studio in Germany and a big production. So that all happened because of my experience teaching for so many years and my experience producing videos for artists, producing music, and being in touch with so many companies throughout my career. Because as I progressed in my careers, I would endorse this company or that one. And it was a step-by-step process, a giant wheel of things that happened. And that's how I became an author. Now I have a lot more books, and of course all my methods are on my lesson site. Eventually I found out that it's better to have a lesson site because people were stealing my material left and right. If you see another video I have here, that DVD, that big project, Afro-Cuban drumming, was downloaded over 64,000 times. 64,000 times downloaded. It broke my heart because I put my life and soul into that project. We sank so much money into it. And the week it came out, it was just ransacked, right? Back then it was mega upload. Somebody uploaded at a mega upload, and then, I still get emotional when I think about how much money that cost me, right? So you can imagine, sorry, I'm already getting, my stomach hurts when I think about all the real drag that it is to have your material stolen like that. So the lesson site is a big relief for me because I have contact with the people. It's a very interactive project. It's interactive, the lesson site. I know every single guy that's on there studying. It's not some random guy in wherever who has my book. You know, there are a lot of guys like that have my book, but I prefer, if somebody's going to really study my material, I prefer to know them now. You know, that's the way it is now, and know that they're doing the right thing with all the material. There was even one kid, I was at Drummers Collective for 4 years, right? And some kid came up to me and he's like, yeah, man, I've got your DVD and I love it, man. It's taught me so much. Oh, that's great, man. Where did you buy it? And he looked at me in shock. Suddenly, he realized he had downloaded it, right? He didn't buy it, he stole it. So he's like, oh man, I downloaded it. Like laughing, right? I was so pissed. I just looked at him. I said, okay, all right. And I walked away. Honestly, it was infuriating because these guys don't know the kind of money and effort and time it takes to put a project like that together. How many people were involved? How many companies were involved to put that out? And he just downloads and steals it, right? So, as an author, now, you have to realize that that's what's going to happen to you, all right? You don't do a book, you don't write a book, a drumming book, because you want to get rich or you want to be famous. You do it because you love drumming. And you do it because it's something that you have inside you and you just have to get it out, and it's a labor of love, and you want it to be beautiful and perfect, and it's like the soul almost of your drumming. You know, everything you know, you're putting it into there, and it's there forever. But take my advice. Don't teach. Go play. Because there comes a point where you might be able to teach after you have a lot of experience, but don't teach if you don't have any experience playing. First of all, you're doing damage to someone. And second of all, you're never going to get rich. Third of all, your reputation is going to get dragged through the mud if you put out garbage, you know. So I would say enjoy music, man. Go out there and play. Get in a band. Get in 5 bands. Play all the time. Play, play, play. Until you reach the point where you have something to say, maybe, in the educational market. I have many friends that are great drummers and they play all over the world and they're constantly touring. They don't have any books out. They're too busy playing. That's what you should be thinking about, okay? For me, it was like kind of an accident. One thing, you know, rolled into the next, and I was teaching in India, I was teaching in Europe, I was part of a lot of schools, and that's how it happened, okay? So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you perhaps have a plan of action when it comes to these things. Again, don't teach, go play. Thanks for watching. Peace.